To another edition of Deconversion Stories, and today I'm talking with the one, the only Paulogia. You guys probably know who he is. You've probably seen his channel, and in case you haven't, the link to it is down below, along with Paul's Facebook group and also his Twitter, and I think his Patreon I put also down there too, if you guys do like what you see and you want to help support his show. And you can do the same for me. I also have the links below for all the stuff the ways you can help my show out as well if you do choose to do so. Anyways, Paul, what I talk to people about here is about how and why they left religion behind. Basically I say, go back to as far as you can remember when you first started thinking to yourself that this stuff might not be as true as they're telling me.
Okay.
And what led you on your path to becoming the atheist activist that you are today.
So is that where we're starting?
You betcha.
All right. Well, you're going to get I'll give you the middle-ish version in terms of length, because, obviously these can go into lots of detail or not, but
we've got an hour, but
perfect. I've had a bit of a strange career history, but one of the things that is in my career history is that I write graphic novels, which are long form comics, and professionally and published and things like that. Anyway, one of the around 2000,
hold it. Where can one get some of these?
So Amazon, comic book shops can order them. The best place though, I love Comixology. For those of you who know what that is,
I have it.
So in fact, for you, a comic book from my company is actually the very first comic book ever to appear on Comixology. I actually worked with David, the founder. He and I were friends, and so he was throwing my comics up, first during the testing phase. So anyway,
that's amazing, dude.
Bit of a coincidence.
I'll have to look for it. You'll have to send me a link or something. I can look for it and download some.
All this is just telling people that I'm old is really what this is telling me.
They can probably tell by my facial hair that I'm up there too.
So in around 2007, I was writing a comic book series called Neozoic, which the premise of which dinosaurs and humans, this was an alternate Earth where the asteroid missed us, and so dinosaurs didn't go extinct. And so humanity had to sort of thrive side by side dinosaurs in this alternate history.
Interesting.
Anyway, I was a young Earth creationist at the time. And I'll step back a minute, one step further back than that. For those of you who don't know my background, I was raised in a Mennonite background. And we can, if you have questions about what that is later, we can talk about that. But when we classify, I was basically a fundamentalist evangelical with even more extreme views on certain things like pacifism and the importance of baptism and and the inerrancy of scripture, about as far right, as far conservative as you can imagine on pretty much everything. Anyway, so that's my background coming up to this. So I think dinosaurs, were on the ark and all this kind of good stuff, but my projects were sold at commercial level markets, right? They were not Christian projects. These are secular projects. And so I wanted to include, in my head, I was going to tip the hat a little bit to people who believed this evolution garbage. And to tell you how far off I was, I didn't even really know how many millions of years they thought they died, right? So I had to look up a few details like this. I knew it was millions of years, but I couldn't have rattled off the top of my head that it was 65 million years. So I was looking up some details just to throw in. Anyway, as I was looking up these details, it's kind of planted some seeds in my head that it's wow, they sure have a lot of evidence for this, which I've been told all my life has been completely garbage, or they seem to really believe it. So I kind of let that sit for several years. And then fast forward about 7 years, that had been kind of percolating in my head, and I was between work. I was working on feature film stuff at the time, and was between projects. Knew I had a little bit of time off, and so you know what? I'm just going to go find all the evidence for creationism, just to resolve in my head that it's all true, right? I've taken it from all my pastors in the past that everything in the Bible is completely true, but let me just go. They tell me there's evidence, right? They assure me that there's evidence. So let me just go find out what that is. So I look online, and the best resources a person can get are the Ken Ham Answers books. These are the pinnacle of telling me, what I was going to need. So
The go-to books.
the go-to books.
Yeah.
So I ordered the Ken Ham Answers books and start digging into them. And as I'm reading through them, even though Ken and I believe the exact same things, I can tell that this stinks. Like, I can tell these answers are garbage. I don't know what the right answers are, but they're garbage and garbage, garbage, until one point I got to the question about how did kangaroos get to Australia? And basically their answer is they jumped on logs and floated there, was the answer. And I just dropped the book on the floor. I'm like, this isn't serious. They aren't even serious. Like, I don't know what this is. And that was quite existential for me. It was like, okay, maybe I should read what the other side says about science.
Mm.
And so I started, what are the best books on, and all this stuff on evolution on the other side. And that started to make more and more sense as I was reading.
I thought you'd like to see that.
So, I jokingly say in my first video online, which a lot of people reference, that Ken Ham made me an atheist. Now, Ken Ham basically started to be on my path of questioning things I'd been told. That's really all he did. So right. I fully acknowledge and I fully love when people can find their way out of young Earth creationism. That doesn't mean you become an atheist. Like, there's most Christians in the world, obviously, accept, the age of the Earth being billions of years, and that evolution, to some varying extent and some involvement of God happened, like all that kind of stuff. So, falling out of young Earth creationism, I understand, isn't that. But where that led me was, okay, if I was so wrong about this, and my pastors were so wrong about it, and everyone I've been in Bible school was so wrong about it, if this was all garbage, what is true? So then I took like the next year kind of like, okay, what if I don't take anything that what if I start from scratch? What if I tried to rebuild my faith, making zero assumptions? How could I do that? And so I started my own, real study of the Bible, but not assuming it was true as I always had done, right? If you come at it completely neutral, because at that time I was still a believer. I wanted it to be true. Everything in my life kind of counted on it being true. But I started going through and I'm like, man, Jesus really thinks that Adam was a person. So, but I don't think that I can't find a way that Adam can be a real person. So that's kind of a problematic. And who wrote these books? Oh, it turns out they're anonymous, or some of them might even be forgeries. And there's not really evidence that the Hebrews were ever really slaves in Egypt. Like, it just starts, if you start trying to build it from scratch, I just couldn't do it until one day I came to the point, man, I can't rebuild my faith from scratch with just facts and evidence. And then one day I noticed on my Facebook feed, someone had been posting, and mockingly so, Seth Andrews, the Thinking Atheist, he had responded to Josh Fierstein's $100,000 God challenge. I don't know if people remember that from 8 years ago.
Someone wants to know.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that.
Okay.
I'm going to finish my story.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, anyway, I watched Seth, kind of dissecting the God challenge from Joshua Fierstein, and I'm like, you know what? There are people, and of course, Seth's story very much rang true with mine. Like, I was a worship leader, I was a youth leader, I had massive hundreds of kids, youth rallies and things that I ran and organized. When I started seeing that there were people like me who came out of it, and I started reading their stories, I kind of realized, oh, this is where I am. I am an atheist. And it was not, I became an atheist. I finally, the word caught up to me. That was like, oh, this is what I am now. And so it was basically, that was a very long way of saying I had to, it kind of fell apart for me. And when I tried to build it back, because that's very much what I wanted, I couldn't do it. And then I couldn't be intellectually honest with myself and still hold it. So And that resulted in a whole social problem for me because of all my friends, all my work colleagues, like everyone I knew in the world was a Christian. But that's kind of separate and aside. Is that kind of the length of story you were looking for?
Well, you can dig a little deeper. Like when you decided that you became an atheist,
yep.
How did that affect your relationships, like with your friends, your family, that kind of thing?
So I've become a little more careful about including my family in some of these things. So I will speak in more general terms than specific terms.
Okay, sure.
But suffice to say, I have 3 kids. They are currently 16, 18, 20. And they are all still Christians, devout. My daughter's heading off to Bible college, in fact, soon.
Wow.
So for me,
have they ever talked to you about your atheism at all?
So we very little. Okay. So I was outed against my will. I shared it with a handful of people that I thought I could trust to talk through it. And that wasn't what happened. What happened was red alert, panic attack. The news spread out of my control, which is actually, when people ask me about advice about coming out, one of the things I often say is like, however you do it, if you can control your own narrative, it's a lot better than if you can't. That of course got around to my kids, and we had to have some weird heart-to-hearts, and there was couple of years there where it was pretty awkward because their faith is a big part of their life and still is. We've come to this very mutual, you believe your thing, I believe my thing, but we don't talk it through. They're not comfortable talking it through with me. And they are actually the reason I started my YouTube channel, because I was, shortly after I deconverted, I also was diagnosed with some very serious health issues. Such to the extent that I'm, possibly lethal, fatal. And so for me, given that my kids were not willing to talk about this, I actually wanted a place where I could leave messages that and this is morbid, and I'm through it and I'm past and whatever else. But at the time, it was kind of like this, well, what if this is the place I can leave for them whenever they are ready to watch?
Right.
I will leave content for them, which is actually, so people sometimes ask me about like my tone and like I don't swear on my channel and things like that. And it's like, well, you know what? Because my channel is intended to be for my children who will watch it who knows when, and without necessarily context from me. So I try and talk to them and or a version of myself when I was their age is really who my intended audience is. So anyway, so you were asking about how that affected things. I got pretty much cut off from everyone. It was a weird. I was a little surprised how quickly I was basically shunned and disowned in many ways, to the extent where I basically had to find a place to land. Now, fortunately, I live in a big enough city that there is actually a living without religion group that I discovered.
Great.
And landed, and they gave me a great place to land. And I was very happy with I'm not a social person. I generally don't like hanging out with people, but I was glad that I recognized that myself. Boy, I should have one friend, right? So, it gave me that. Yeah. So, and then,
when I met you, you didn't come across as not wanting to hang out with people.
Well, I try and pretend,
But it was a lot of fun. I mean, we had a great time down
there. No, it's one of those, I think introverts will, I'm one of those people that, I'm not like measuring in spoons how I'm going to deal with my life.
Right.
But, I enjoy my own solitary time, but,
for sure.
But when your life becomes that and you're like, well, I have whole weeks without my kids, and at the time I was working from home, so I could go 6-7 days without seeing humans. That's not necessarily healthy. It's not necessarily a good way to live. So, no. So, I mean, yeah, when I'm being a little bit jokey when I'm saying, I don't like humans. I mean, one of the best things about the happy accident, and you probably feel the same about just doing this YouTube thing, was I never went into it expecting, hey, I'm going to meet cool people.
Well, I'm sorry
and
to disappoint you.
lo and behold, there's all kind of cool people like Neil who I've met and who, we chat with and new Facebook groups and new whole areas of that. But, who knew? I as a Christian, I never knew that secular people could have community as well. So that's one of those myths, right? That the secular people are evil and
we're terrible.
Right, and if they're getting together, it's just to do drugs or to
plot world destruction.
Plot world destruction, exactly. As I drink rum
and beer.
So a consequence of that was, of course, I was many decades old before I first tasted alcohol. So there's a side advantage.
Beach Price wants you to mention that you were on TV.
Which TV? So I've been on TV a lot. I don't know what. Yeah,
me too, actually. But it says Paul mentioned about being on TV and directed at me.
Okay, well, one time I was on TV was associated to Ken Ham, which maybe more people are familiar with.
I think that's probably what they mean.
So in my previous careers, I was once on Hockey Night in Canada. Actually, 3 times I was on Hockey Night in Canada, and that's where a lot of people like Neil.
That's awesome.
recognized me from. That said, so it's funny because I actually, when I moved back to Canada from the States, I got several times the first year I was there. You were on Hockey Night in Canada, right? Yeah, I was. Yeah, whatever. Doesn't matter. TV related to so Ken Ham was coming to visit. And if you don't know who Ken Ham is, you probably don't know who I am, and I don't know why you're here. So
we'll get into that in a bit.
Yeah. So Ken was coming to my province, and he was the head speaker. He was invited to be the head speaker at the Homeschool Conference of Alberta. Now, the Homeschool Conference of Alberta has a ton of public funding. It's not, I don't know how it is in every province, and probably every state is different as well. But in Alberta, when you homeschool, the portion of your money that would have gone to, for any given student, the portion of money they would have got from the government actually ends up going to either the homeschool association they're associated with or directly to the parents, blah, blah, blah. And they can buy any material they want, including Ken Ham material. And he was coming here specifically, to be the lead speaker, but more ostensibly to sell his merchandise to people to buy with my tax dollars, right? Mm-hmm. So I wasn't a big fan of that idea. I signed up to go to the convention because you don't have to be a homeschooler to go to the convention. And also Ken Ham was their Answers in Genesis was having a supporter dinner, and I've bought enough of their stuff that they thought I was a supporter and also had invited me to that. Anyway, some local groups were trying to get some rallying against this, and Ken Ham essentially outed me. He outed Answers in Genesis outed my real name. They doxed me.
Oh, fuck.
And so I had only ever appeared as a cartoon up until that point. And my real name hadn't been known. Which, of course, I've given my kids' situation, try and keep them out of this, right?
Sure, yeah.
But I was like, fuck, he doxed me. Well, okay. So then I was like, well, I may as well be all in now.
Do you think he did that as some kind of a tactic?
I don't think so. I don't think they understand
the doxing issue.
The doxing issue, right? They like a pushback I get a lot is like, Christians shouldn't take me seriously because I don't use my real name and I'm a cartoon, right? As if that's something about my argument.
As if that means anything.
Right. And of course, that was initially part of like protecting my kids. And I looked quite ill when I started my channel. Right. So there's some good reasons for that. But anyway, I don't think this was on purpose. We're doxing the dude, but because they had my real name from being on their supporter list and blah, 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 from back in the day, they doxed me. So then I was like, well, fine. Then I started offering myself up to interviews here. So I was actually on TV and radio quite a bit around when Ken Ham was coming here because, the Calgary stations wanted to talk to a local boy who was against and had enough knowledge about this to speak to it. They didn't have to research. So
didn't you want to like show up to where he was presenting?
Yeah, and so I'd paid my money. I'd booked in, and I actually got a call from Calvin Smith, who's the head of Anti-Theism Canada, 2 nights before the event, saying, "Look, you're obviously not a supporter, so we can't have you coming to our supporter dinner."
Oh, brother.
And that was fair. I wasn't going to be paying for that. It was intended for supporters. It would have been great. I would have never said a word. Like they'd have not have known who I wouldn't have said a peep. I would have soaked it all in and reported about it afterwards, but whatever. They don't know that. That's all. So fair enough. But they also alerted the homeschool conference, and the homeschool conference revoked my entry to that, which I had paid money for. Now they gave me my money back, but they didn't have, the homeschool association had no justification in banning me from the event other than that their head speaker was uncomfortable with me.
Right.
So anyway, that was literally, I was on my way to, it's about an hour and a half drive from where I was. I literally had just dropped off my puppy at the kennel and then got the message, can't go. So anyway, so then I was like, well, now my weekend's free. I hadn't even planned to make a video about it, but now it's like, fine. Now I'm making a video about it.
Oh, it's on.
It's on now. So anyway, people who were following me, that was probably a year and a half ago. So anyone who's following me back then may be familiar with that kind of a saga. Yeah. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. So you were involved with, like, you were a part of the AIG, I guess, at some point, or at least interacting with them.
So, well, I mean, when I first wanted to investigate, I ordered a ton of their material. So that was where I wasn't a part of them, but when I was a Christian, I did, I guess, indirectly financially support them by buying a lot of their stuff.
Okay.
And I was never on staff or anything like that. If that was the question. Then,
yeah. Well, I mean, did you, I was going to ask if you'd ever done anything with Ken or
no. In fact, like when I was a Christian, my passion was music ministry and youth ministry.
Okay. And
for that, apologetics wasn't a big part of that. Like I didn't spend a lot of time. I knew it. Like I knew it in my soul, right? That it was I knew it was true. So I didn't spend any time trying to further investigate the reasons it was true.
Right.
So that would have been superfluous to me. I was huge into Bible memory. At one point, I could quote most of the New Testament.
Wow.
Rattle it off. I've lost that ability a bit now, but
that's pretty impressive to have been able to do that.
But that was the crux of, like, I was really into that aspect of it. So textual criticism, my channel's actually heading a little bit towards more now some of those passions that I had back then. It started off with some of the reasons I deconverted. So no, I wasn't directly, like, I didn't work for Answers in Genesis per se. The other brush I had with them was, of course, when I went and watched an Answers News live taping at the Creation Museum, and I got to meet Ken Ham and Georgia Purdom and Bodie Hodge. I don't know if I included that in one of my videos at one point in time, but they have a meet and greet afterwards, and so they didn't know who I was, other than that I since found out, like, security was on to me. As I looked at my footage afterwards, I found out I could see all of a sudden that there was security in almost all my shots. They were obviously closing in on me, right?
They're watching.
Because I was taking pictures of every sign, right? And I took video of every room. Like, they don't have people coming. I guess Christians themselves don't scrutinize this stuff very closely. Like, even though I was making no commentary to anyone, the fact that I was so carefully documenting everything was probably a red alert. Anyway, so I met Ken and Georgia and Bodie afterwards, and I got my picture taken with them as if I was a fan. But I wanted to ask them, do you ever watch internet? Do you ever watch internet criticisms? What do you think about that? Well, they were, oh, those people, they just live in their basements cashing their atheist checks and their mom's basement. And
wait, we get checks?
Well, this was news to me as well, right? I was pretty fresh into it, so I didn't know we were getting checked. But so I said, well, have you ever seen the one Ham and Egg News? And they all started laughing. I was, yeah, we've seen that one. It's hilarious because they don't know who I am.
Right.
They hadn't recognized my voice yet, apparently. So I got confirmation from them that they watched my show, and then I was like, this was so exciting to me as a young YouTuber. These people were actually watching my stuff. But then they were like, yeah, that person, what a loser. And it's great to have it on. It's so ironic that I had this on tape, right? Living in his mom's basement, I'm sure, and just mocking me like, well, I'm standing right in front of you. But fine.
Did you actually say that to them?
No, I never told them who I was.
Oh, okay.
Because at that point, my friend who I was with, who very much didn't want to get messed up in any of this stuff and didn't want trouble, kept tugging at me. It's like security at that point was also like coming in from their posts to where I was. So there was enough red flags that I was sending up that she just tugged my shoulder. I'm like, we got to get out of here. So we ran. I had spent the whole day at the museum. So that was actually, I'd spent about 4 hours in the museum, which was more than enough. Yeah.
Shannon wants her check too.
Yeah.
So
what questions have we missed?
We need to ask. Oh, there haven't been too many. People have been basically talking to themselves. So what made you decide to? Because I mean, I'll admit it to you, dude. Every time I watch your videos, and I watched a few of them today about the whole resurrection stuff and stuff.
Okay.
No, they're great stuff, and I learned shit from you. What made you decide to pretty much tackle them head on, like with your videos and stuff? Because a lot of your
Answers and Genesis people?
Yeah.
So actually, interestingly, I kind of became famous for famous like a person
YouTube famous.
In your head, I have 100 subscribers, so I'm famous.
Yeah, I recently broke 1,000, and that's a pretty big feat for me.
It is. That's great. It is good. I mean, I always think about this, like if you booked a room and you knew you're going to go talk to 1,000 people, you would take that serious, right? And that would be a big deal.
Yes.
So when 1,000 people watch your video, like that's how you have to think. If you're a YouTuber out there, that's how you have to think about it. Don't be discouraged that 90 people watch my video. You talk to 90 people. Like, that's a big deal.
That's what I tell others too. They're just starting out.
Anyway, I started actually with Eric Hovind. I didn't actually start with Ken Ham. But when and the reason I started with Eric was because Eric doesn't ever make claims himself. Like he's not his dad. He's not,
right.
But he constantly had all the other creationists on his show. And so to me, he was like this cool theme of a hub I could do. Is like he has all those other people on. So if I just tackle his show, I'll eventually get through everybody, was my thought. But then Ken started the Stupid Answers news show after I started my channel. And I watched like 2 of those. I'm like, well, this is just garbage. I
have to say something.
I got to say something about this. And then somehow in my head, I was like trying to think of a name of it. It was like ham. What's a ham? And like, wait, AIG is like almost like egg.
Ham and egg.
And then the whole
Always
thing
stuck in my
blew
head.
up from there, right? I credit my. So if you, have a catchy theme song is the other.
I walk around work singing it, and people are like, "What the fuck is that?" I'm like, "I'll explain later."
So,
and I got to get a shirt.
Oh yeah, please.
They don't come in black though, or do they?
No, but I'll be doing some new shirts eventually. No, because it's it's the blue theme. It goes with blue coloring.
I know,
which is funny. Which is actually why I don't even have one of my own shirts because I only wear black.
Yeah, me too. Like I love black, right? So if you get them released in black, I'm all over it.
All right. Well, that's what we'll have to do. A limited time.
Just for Neil, the 604 Neil edition. Yeah, the black.
That's right.
Well, I appreciate that because I'd buy it tomorrow if it was
awesome.
available.
Well, we'll make that happen.
All right. Your glass that you're drinking from looks like you're at a pub. It's like an actual pub glass.
Sweet. Yeah. Well, I also have we talked about this before. I'm alternating between coffee and rum.
So we can have a wide awake drunk Paul.
That's right.
That's what I was used to say, like when we go out to the bar or whatnot. And then, let's go have coffee. Yeah, that's what they want. Wide awake drunks.
That's right. Yeah, usually, the coffee is supposed to be the cure, but I'll mix them together.
No, it just keeps you up so you can drink more after.
Perfect. That's what we need.
It's funny because I went to my Christmas party, the company Christmas party, this on Friday, and the guy that was supposed to show up with the alcohol had not shown up yet. And I'm like, this is not good. Well,
unacceptable.
Yeah, I'm a little tired, so maybe I'll go have a mocha. So I went to Starbucks and grabbed a mocha, and I'm sitting out front drinking a mocha, and everyone that comes by going up to the party's like, why don't you have a beer in your hand? I know it's unusual, but it's not here yet. So
I would have thought that's your signal. Like a lot of people have their kind of signal for, like, if you see me doing this, I've been kidnapped. I would have probably put that in the Neil. Are you in trouble? Do we need to,
do we need to intervene somewhere?
You need to call 911.
Well, Shannon already told the chat that apparently I'm fun to drink with. So there you go.
You are.
Well, yeah, I just like to be fun because, I mean, what the hell? Why not? Right. So, and man, yeah, just, I couldn't believe when we were sitting at Matt's place last year and then Drew broke out the guitar and we sang that song that he wrote. What's her name now? My mind just went blank.
Christina?
Yeah, that's it. Christina Rad was videotaping it and uploaded it, and I'm like, should I be embarrassed about this? It's like, you got Drew on the guitar and Matt on the ukulele or whatever it was he was playing, and me trying to sing this damn song. But
I don't know, man. You have me on your name dropping all these other bigger YouTubers. I don't know. I'm starting to feel insecure.
I'm just retelling what happened.
I guess I was there, so it's a war story between us.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're sitting in the foxholes right now.
But yeah, that was very surreal for someone who, like, 3 years prior believed what Ken Ham believed. Yeah. To now being in Matt Dillahunty's house.
Yeah.
Singing songs with other, that's pretty surreal.
Yeah, it was. It was very surreal for me. And actually, when I first met Matt, when I showed up at the hotel and I shook his hand, and then I posted on Twitter, I said, "Ooh, life goal achieved." And Matt posted right away. He's like, "Aim higher." And I just started cracking up right there. That was pretty funny. Are you coming down for this year?
Yes. I mean, all things Lord willing, as I used to say. But the intent will be to be there because it's like atheist YouTuber camp. If anyone hasn't gone,
exactly. Yeah, if you haven't been to Faithless Forum, guys, and you have the opportunity to do so, you definitely have to go because they're so much fun.
Absolutely.
And I do remember one question. I can't remember who asked it. They'll probably shout at me in the comments in a minute, but they wanted to know which side of the Star Trek, Star Wars war that you're on.
Well,
or are you on? Are you Star Wars Pro or Star Trek?
So,
I'm both. So,
for those who don't know my history, in 1999, I went to work for a gentleman named George Lucas, and I spent 7 years working on Star Wars episodes 1, 2, and 3, formerly known as the bad ones, but maybe not so much anymore. I don't know. Anyway, no. Star Wars paid for my house, so that's going to get my loyalty. But no, when I was a kid, hugely into Star Wars.
But they design it like the Death Star. Like, are you living in the Death Star sort of looking house?
I've noticed it just in the last 6 months that so many apologists feel free to adorn themselves with Star Wars stuff, but virtually no apologists will wear Star Trek stuff.
Really?
And I actually posed this on my Twitter. I was like, why do you guys think this is? And it was just a random question, but a lot of people answered in a way that probably makes sense. I mean, probably what appealed to me. Star Wars has this massive faith element to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Jediism. Whole Force and Jediism and mysticism. And it's like the crux of the story is like the heroes are the ones who realize that the weird powers are true, right? And that connect in with the spiritual, like the spiritual ones are the heroes in Star Wars. Whereas in Star Trek, anything religious is like you're backwards and silly, and or you're, it's people posing as, there's so many episodes where someone's posing as a god when really they're just using some technology to enslave people.
Yeah,
like
that was a good episode.
Religions are often, and Star Trek 5, as bad as that was,
we don't talk about the odd number ones.
Yeah, that's right. In Star Trek, they have moved past religion. They're a past religion culture.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, that has started to make sense to me why so many theists flop to the Star Wars side of this argument. Now, I should say, I love Star Trek, always have. I was recently on a ex-cult baby was hosting her Star Trek trivia night, and they were one person short.
Yeah,
you were supposed to be there. That's right. You didn't. You couldn't get there on time.
I couldn't.
I
think I showed up at the end.
I was the Star Wars guy in the room, and I won. So I don't know what would have happened if you had been there. All I'm saying is, I know a little something about the Trek, and Picard on Thursday. If you're not excited.
Yeah, but I'm hearing bad things about it. I'm trying to be all like la 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 la, but I'm hearing like that one of the things that struck me is this new Picard apparently dismantles Gene Roddenberry's view or outlook of what Star Trek should be, right? And I don't know, that might be a little harsh. I'm thinking, so I'm definitely going to watch it. I mean, a lot of people didn't like Discovery, and I thought, it was pretty good. I thought it was all right.
It took me 4 episodes to think Discovery was cool. The first 3 episodes were dry pills I had to choke down, but now I'm fully on board.
Yeah, I like when they brought Spock in. I thought that was kind of neat the way they twined that story together.
Yeah, and actually, funny they ignored continuity. They didn't put his brother from Star Trek 5 in.
Yeah, I know. That's true.
Neil
yes, Randy, I do have a Starfleet uniform. Yes. With the pips there for commander, because I
have no cosplay of any kind.
No, nothing?
No.
I can put my Rorschach mask on if you want. And it changes. It's cool.
Part of my former jobs was like I would go to comic book conventions like many a year. I was at San Diego Comic-Con 19 years in a row. It's just like, wow. I get so overwhelmed with that stuff. It's kind of like, well, this can't.
Were you signing for your books and stuff?
Both working for Lucasfilm, and then I started my own comic book company. Then I was signing for my own books, and that was all awesome. But
cool, I'll have to get some hard copies so you can sign them for me.
When you're in a building with 150,000 sweaty comic book nerds.
Yeah, I know all about it. When I go play Yu-Gi-Oh!
Say, hey, let me get my Luke Skywalker outfit on. So yeah,
that's 100 fucking thousand. Oh my goodness!
Right, it's like the size of major cities in one building. So yeah,
holy crap! That is a lot of people that's stuck in one building that haven't showered for at least a day or two.
Right. That's so. I love we're way off track now, but there used to be promotional companies that would try and do neat things. One company that tried to promote their comic was giving out deodorant, but the label was like their comic. Like, here's deodorant. Here's deodorant.
That's beautiful.
Deodorant. Yeah.
I've never seen that before, and I've been to a few of the conventions that have been here. A couple of anime ones, a couple of comic ones, some Star Trek ones.
Hopefully they don't get punched in the nose for insinuating bad things. But
we had a guy when I went down to LA, and they had a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament down there, and I play the game. So I went down there because I have a YouTube channel that's dedicated to Yu-Gi-Oh as well. Okay. And I went down there, and the kids are coming up, and they give you their judgment. They give me all their Judgment Dragon cards, and they want me to sign them because that was my deck at the time. And somebody there brought a bag full of the same thing, deodorant. And the guy had put white paper, glued it on, and put Yu-Gi-Oh on it, and he handed out these
sweet, yep,
these there's all these kids down there, and they, they're all sweaty, and because you're sitting in a room with like 5,000 plus people at these tables, so yeah, it's
Faithless Forum doesn't have this problem. Everyone smells great at Faithless Forum.
We shower,
yeah.
And I wear my special cologne. Actually, I bought cologne that came in a casket. Like a casket, and it's called Morbid, and I spray that stuff on. It's great
for the goth girls.
Yeah, for the guy. That's actually, I bought it back in the day when it was kind of gothy. Right? Hang on, there was another question from.
Well, we had a question from about Shannon, I think.
But yeah, let's get into that. How did you meet with Shannon? Like, how did you meet her? And give us the juicy details, man.
Well, this is weirdly relatively public, but so when, and you're gonna have to forgive me, I hear one of my kids coming home, so we'll see how that goes. So I was doing a series of videos surrounding upcoming Eric Hoven's upcoming Genesis 3D movie, and I had gone on a particular live stream to talk about. They had been doing a bunch of extra crowdfunding and raising of money that I didn't feel was necessary. I thought it was a bit of a money grab, and pointing out some of the problems they were having. Anyway, someone was hosting a live stream for that, and they were inviting just anyone in the audience could just jump in. It was one of these back in the Google Hangout days when you could just put up a link, and whoever wants to come in comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the people that comes in is, Shannon, no Q at the time, just Shannon. Mm-hmm. But she was using her same avatar that her Twitter had. And if anyone has been on Shannon's Twitter before, you'll know that she's the best person on Twitter, right? Like no one's better at Twitter than Shannon is.
Oh yeah.
You may love her. You may love her videos. You may love all the things she does, but try her Twitter. It's amazing. Anyway, I had already this is this person who's killing it on Twitter. I recognized the avatar, and so we started chatting because of that. Because she came on and was basically trying to give me some hints. I was about to go to the Ken Ham thing that we had spoke of earlier, and I was asking the audience, if I get a chance to talk to him, what should I ask and what tactics should I take? Because I'm not great at the in-person communication stuff. Anyway, So she came on and was like, well, here's some tactics you can take, and here's some thoughts and about the movie. Anyway, but I'd recognized her from Twitter, obviously. And so I mentioned afterwards, I was heading out there. So I'm like, well, do you mind, can I ask you some more follow-up questions? And I was, as I was going on my trip and as the day was going on, yeah. We kind of hit off a friendship about that. And then I met her a few months later, and turns out we had good chemistry in person as well. So
she grab you and pull you into the cloakroom.
That was kind of led to that.
I'm sorry, but that was the picture I had in my head.
The fan fiction writes itself, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure there's probably some out there somewhere.
Yeah, but anyway, that's we basically met on a live stream.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's really cool. And the rest is history. As
the rest is history. Yeah.
Are there any future plans for the two of you, or are you just going to ride this out? Or
well, we both are still technically married.
Me too, technically too, as well.
And I'm hoping that will end soon. But and then we both have kids in different parts of the country.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of has to wind up. But once that's wound up, we will live closer together once we can.
Oh well, I'm kind of hoping so, because the two of you are like I hate the term, but you guys are like magic together when you guys do stuff together. So.
Well,
the power couple. So to speak.
It's interesting because we have very different styles in what we do, and we're not co-branded or
no, but you're
kind of that stuff. But
you might be different styles, but you guys mesh together and come across very well. So let's put it that way, right?
And we're this weird couple that we, in our spare time, we like to watch debates and yell at them.
Don't blame you. I get the urge for that once in a while myself.
Yep.
I keep having, who wants me in a debate now is Darth Dawkins. And I'm just like, dude, I've said this 100 times to you, but you just never seem to hear it. In my head, there's no debate. So I'm not in for debating. So if you want to have a conversation that will more than likely turn into a debate with this guy, but I told him I don't really debate. I talk to people about their beliefs and why they left them, and that's what I do.
I've become Sierra. I've become more convinced of late that debates aren't as productive as I used to think. Now that I've had a few myself, and I recently had one with Inspiring Philosophy. Like, so he made a video, and I made a video response, and then he did a blog response, and then I was just kind of like, hey, why don't we just talk? I think we're talking past each other a little bit in these forums. Why don't we just get on a stream and talk about it? And we did that, and it was insanely productive and a great video. But I think he and I took hits where it's like, why wasn't, this wasn't a debate? No one won the conversation? It's like, no, we got to some understanding about what we were meaning by definitions and where our differences actually lied. And anyway, I mean, not that there isn't room for debate. I think debate helped me.
Me too.
And Christopher Hitchens, taking people to the shed sometimes.
Yeah.
When I was a Christian, it's like, oh, maybe my side isn't as solid as that. There's a place for it. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if we need the whole debate me bro culture thing going on.
Debate me bro. Come at me, bro.
I don't know. I get a lot on my channel. If you really believe this, you'd debate so and so. I'm like,
yeah, why?
Why? I mean, if they have good points about the points I've made, make a video about it, or we can talk. Yeah. So anyway, I've learned from Shannon. I like conversations.
Yeah, me too. I prefer those.
Almost everyone I would there are very few people that I wouldn't have a conversation with.
Well, that's good, because I think we should all really be that way. We should be willing to converse and have this discourse with people. Because, I mean, you never know. You might say something that they might not have heard before, and then all of a sudden they're like, the wheels start turning, and who knows?
The latest debate me bro, though, is actually literally Kent Hovind. He keeps commenting on every video I put out there. Come debate me. And it's like, no.
Hovind? Yeah.
Hovind, yeah.
Fuck.
The elder. I would talk to the younger in a heartbeat, but the elder is there to grandstand for his people. That's all.
Yeah, pretty much. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Aaron Raw learned that lesson.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So.
Although, I mean, Aaron had great points, and I believe probably effectively communicated to Christians who watched. But I know he has an answer to every. I could play both sides of the debate. I know what a script is for everything I'm going to say. So no one's going to learn nothing.
Well, nothing new, anyways.
Yeah.
Well, we're just about at the top of the hour, so.
Okay.
What I usually suggest is to the folks that I'm chatting with is do some shilling, tell people where they can find you and some upcoming projects you're working on that they might be interested in.
Sure. So, as mentioned, my primary outlet is my YouTube channel where I do a lot of science, theology, and news videos. I've been shifting my channel a little bit more towards the apologetics as opposed to young Earth creationism, because it's personally more of a passion of mine. And so hopefully people are enjoying that. And I'm hoping to put out a series. Yay! Oh, good. I'm glad. I deal with the resurrection a lot because I feel like the resurrection is actually the linchpin for.
I would agree 100%. Yeah.
Like biblical slavery, whatever. If you believe that Jesus rose from the dead, whatever about the Bible slavery. And if you don't, I see how it looks terrible. But it's still linchpin on, did Jesus rise? So, and then I'm doing a new series, hopefully it will debut in February, which I've been working on for almost a year now, over a year now, that is going to be non-response videos, which are actually sharing what I've learned about the origins of the Bible. So starting, basically I'll be dealing with all 66 books.
Awesome.
So someone who has to, as someone, basically it's the journey I went through is like, well, can I rebuild my faith? It's kind of like, well, what did I learn about Matthew? And I tried to establish that and each book going through. So, so I'm hoping that will.
Yep, for sure. Intelligence is often quite sexy. So there you go.
You're not my type of no offense. I mean, you're smart as hell as well, but
Who, me? I'm not your type?
Yeah, you. Yeah.
Is it the bandana?
Mm.
Is it my snappy t-shirts?
No, that's probably it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those you and those illegal things.
Yeah. Wait, illegal things? What are you talking about?
When I moved to California from Canada, one of the things I learned was what I know, right? No, in the States, Kinder Surprises for the long time were illegal.
Oh, that's right too. I totally didn't catch that.
So that kids wouldn't choke on the toys inside
that are wrapped inside their own little
and
thing.
That's when they started. Like, so I don't remember old Kinder Surprises didn't have those eggs inside. It would just be the toy in a little bag or loose or whatever. And apparently some kids were eating them. I don't know.
Well, remember Tide Pods? It's not surprising.
That's right. So, anyway, it was so funny that we couldn't bring Kinder Surprises across the border because they were illegal. But, yeah.
Wow. Well, I guess they probably have them out there now. Now that
they do now.
Kids don't. And you get the gigantic ones now too, which are great.
Yep. So and then I'm hoping, obviously, sometimes I stray onto other channels and have conversations, often on Shannon's, and
like this one here too.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, I gotta say, man, it's been a blast chatting with you.
It's been always a pleasure. And I'm sorry it took so long to get here. But you got the bugs worked out. Didn't want to be.
Yeah.
So you were ready for me. There's my puppy.
Yeah, I love beagles. If I ever get a dog, it's probably going to be a beagle.
She's a rescue, so she was crazy underweight and whatever. But but once she got her health back, one thing I hadn't realized about beagles is they will run away.
Yep.
They are not loyal dog. They're loyal and they're loving and all that kind of stuff. But give them 1 second to run. So I had to very much rejigger my yard, and I figured all this stuff out. Otherwise, she'd just run to Banff every time she gets. And she's also very loud. They're not great city dogs.
Yeah, well, we got a couple in the building I live in, and you can hear them howling and barking for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
Hello,
cool,
David. Sir. Mr. Worley just popped in, so
okay.
Yeah, man, it's been great, dude. You're down for the after party, which is cool, and I know you're gonna be modding Shannon's.
Maybe we'll see how
show as well.
She's starting soon, but we'll see.
Yeah, soon. Well, anyway, I think we should jump into the after party. So what I'll do is I'll shut this one down and send you a brand new link. And anyone that is interested in jumping in just to say hello to Paul, you're welcome to do so. You can send me a message on my Twitter. If you're not on Twitter, but you know me through Facebook, you can try me on Facebook as well. I'll do my best to get the links out to people if they'd like to join us for a bit. Now, there may be a lot of people, so I might have to switch people in and out. So be prepared for that. Yeah, I can leave. You're not allowed to, man. You're the guest of honor.
Oh, okay. I see. All right.
But anyways, thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation as much as I did, and as much as I'm thinking Paul did. I'm pretty sure he had a good time. He's drinking rum. What could go wrong?
Drinking rum. Yeah, it's great.
So, Paul, thank you very much for doing this with me today. I know it took us a while to get this organized.
Yeah, but keep up the great work.
Well, thank you, man. I do my best.
Yep.
Just so you guys know, some upcoming guests. Let me get to it here. Over the next little while, there is no show on Wednesday because it's my mom's birthday, and I'll be going up to the hospital with her to visit her boyfriend who's in the hospital for pneumonia. And on Saturday, the 25th, I have Jen Aldrich. You guys probably have seen her on Atheist Experience.
Woo-hoo.
And after that, I'm taking a week off because I have to go do some first aid training for that entire week. So the 27th and 29th, there won't be a show, but I will be back after that with End the Conspiracy. And then after that, Bullinator will be on. Ooh. So, expect some good shows to coming up. And until next time, guys, like I always say at the end of these things, like the late, great Christopher Hitchens once said, it's called faith because it's not knowledge. And we'll see you guys next time.